10 years. I've been involved in this series for 10 years. And man, what a 10 years has been. Yakuza 6 just recently came out a few days ago and I just beat it, and I got some thoughts about it. Good, bad, but I can still fill in. But in order to understand my feelings about this, you're going to need to understand that I've played Yakuza for 10 years. And in my opinion, I still think 5, in my opinion, is the most solid of the series. Like, it has a lot of characters you can play as, a lot of content, a lot of cities to play around too. It really takes a lot to cover up, and I can't cover everything, and I am not going to spoil everything on 6, so just enjoy me playing this footage while I explain myself. Since 2006 is when I first played Yakuza. And that was when that had that really weird translation which had Mark Hamill and all that kind of things. And this was during the time when they were trying to out-competition GTA, which makes sense. But regardless, the game was pretty solid. You could argue that the localization was weird, and I wouldn't disagree with you there. But the game was still solid. It was still pretty fun. It was something different. It wasn't GTA, even though the team that was translating it was trying to outsource GTA. But it was different. The reason for this is because the combat was really the main factor of the game. Like, it wasn't hit, shoot, and hide behind cover kind of thing, which was not a thing on PS2, but was kind of a thing that's going to become a thing in the next few years. No, the combat was what made this series great, and still does to this day. As the PS2 went on, Yakuza 2 came out, and they expanded a lot of things. They expanded the heat gauge, a lot of heat moves, a lot of techniques, a lot of items you can use, and a lot of things you can do, really. It became the solid of the PS2 games. Yakuza 6 changed a lot of things, but not in a bad way. There is some things that were removed which you'll miss, and a lot of things that were added in that's pretty cool on its own right. For example, the heat gauge, the orbs in 6, was originally just a bar, but you lose it when you take a hit. This is not a case in 6 anymore. Instead, once those orbs fills up, you can take a hit and still keeps the heat gauge. At the expense of all of them, you can go to extreme heat mode, which is pretty cool. I need to take some time to get used to, but it still has its perks on its own right. For example, the impact of the hits, and you like do this close-up zoom showing the impact of the hit. That was pretty cool. And when you take hits, which try not to take hits, that's when guard becomes useful, by the way. The heat doesn't decrease. In Yakuza 1 through 5 and onward, and that includes Kimoi and 0, it was best to sort of like not take hits, even guard if necessary, to keep that heat up, and then you can take advantage of the situation and do some damage to whoever you're fighting, really. Additionally, the fighting style is just single Kiryu mode, but it's more like a new variation of it. Back then, 1 was very familiar to me, and I recognized it in 4, 5, 3, even in 0 and Kimoi. And the reason is because the 4-star, which is Legendary and Dragon, according to the newcomers, if you played 0 first, is that moveset was recognizable to me because it was based on 1, and that's why I recognized it. And that kind of fighting style has been going on for like since 1 and onward. 6 doesn't actually function that fighting style, at least not the way that I remember it. It functions a different kind of move style that has the same controls, and that includes the light hit, strong hit, and grab combo, which I can still do in this, and I still love doing that in the old game. Is in this. I'm distracting myself, but yeah, that was in it. But the kicks and the punches don't function the same way as Kiryu's original moveset does. They function or behave differently. That's probably more connected to the extreme heat mode, which is in the game itself. That obviously is in the game itself. And as a result, this is very different for me. I mean, it's familiar and different at the same time, and that's kind of hard to explain. But if you played Legendary, at least in Kimwai or Zero, you understand what I'm mentioning, that the moveset's very similar but different. In addition, there's also the heat modes in this game. I still think 5 has a lot more, but this one has a little less. It might have something to do with the extreme heat mode, which, again, that also unlocks special heat modes, like this one, for example. This was a deflect, which is if you got at the right time, you push an enemy back. This was a move on that other character in 4, which I forgot his name was. He's a cop. That'll get back to me later, I suppose. But basically, his way of moving is that he has to defend at the right time, and he can deflect an enemy movement to another position. That's what Kiryu does here. So it's a bit of a combination between that and Saijima's Tiger style. By the way, Tiger Drop's in this, by the way. Like, if you don't know what Tiger Drop is, then you really haven't played Yakuza that long, and you don't know just how OP that move is. But as a result, it is OP, but at the expense of risk of taking a hit. But anyway. So yeah, Kiryu's style of fighting is different here, and the heat moves in this is like, there's a lot of creative ones in here. Like, for example, the microwave, which you'll probably see in the video at some point, is pretty cool. There's that grab move. There was that grab combo I was talking about. But there isn't a lot, and that's mainly due to the fact that that you can't equip weapons anymore, and there's no taunting. Like, you could taunt your enemies, and there's like a heat move in that. And in addition, there's also heat moves in the original where the enemy's on the ground and you can do like a stomp attack. That stomp's not in this game. At least not that I think of. There's like a unique feature with heat mode or extreme heat mode in this, that if an enemy is stunned and he's on a certain position, you can do a heat mode from that. So it's kind of like a trade-off. But again, there's no weapons in this game anymore. At least, not that you can buy and keep for yourself. There is weapons that enemies have, but you have to sort of pick them up from them and just use it as you go. Equipment mainly in this is just defensive, or at least a boost on stats, which there's like 5 kinds of stats, like as you techniques, charm, luck, speed, and strength, and that factors on the level of assistant here. Back then it was just simple get XP, and you can learn physical techniques, fighting techniques, soul techniques, and an extra, which I'll have to get back to that one at some point. But essentially it's just 4 of those. Now it's more on 5, and there's like all kinds of techniques here, which not only factor on combat, but also on how much experience you gain from events like eating, drinking, hanging out, all that kind of jazz. You get those from the original too, which weren't much, but they were a nice feature on its own. The reason why you would eat in the game in the original is just to recover health quickly if you need it that badly, or complete a sub-quest, like eat every food at this restaurant and you win a sub-quest story from that. Yeah, what else? But yeah, because there's no weapons, there's also the factor that some parts of the area are no longer accessible because they're constructing there. That's probably due to the fire in the game, which is from the prologue. But because of this, I can't access the north area, which leads to the mall that was recently constructed in 5, but if you recognize the area, it's where the park was, which was kind of vital for 1, and more of a vital spot for an important character, which unfortunately does not make an appearance on this game, which I'm a bit sad about that. But again, I can probably understand why, because it's mainly Kiryu's story and his last adventure to well, do what he needs to do. But yeah, because of this fire, some access areas like the north part of the map, like the hotel district and the mall, which was originally a park, you can't go there anymore. That includes the Champion District, which is a very small alleyway in the ride, which was mainly just bars and corridors where you could fight. But you can't go there anymore because of the construction. I don't know this will be back in Yakuza 7, but they better, because, well, I recognize the area too well. And I grew up in that area. I remember when Kiryu was going against gang after gang, the color gangs, which is referenced in this game. And he just threw a guy's face to the radio and the music just stopped. And like, Kiryu is trying to get Haruka back, and he'll stop at nothing to do that. But yeah, these cut areas, I don't think they're cut, or at least I don't think so, but I think they're just sort of like not accessible anymore because they remove a lot of features. That includes the equipment thing I was talking about, and they remove bowling and they remove pools, but they're trading these off, I believe. Like, for example, there's the fishing underwater game, which I haven't tried yet. I'll have to eventually, but I haven't tried it yet. But looks like fun. Like, there's so many stuff I gotta try this. Like, I'm just sort of doing this video of me doing whatever I want on a loop until I get back to Serena while I cover this. There's a lot of activities in this game, and the baby one, I'm still digging, but at the first part of the game, you gotta, like, babysit Haruto to calm him down with the controller. It's something. It's still pretty fun. But yeah, all these cut areas, like, I get why they maybe removed it, but limitations aside, and especially when you're trading off from another area to another area, I do miss these areas. But I also really do miss having my weapons on with me, because like in the original, if you buy a weapon it broke. I didn't do this that much because of that. I didn't want to waste my money on one weapon that would break. They did some system later in, I think it was free, I'll have to look this up, where the weapon will break, but it can be repaired. And I like that they did this, because I can reuse a certain weapon anytime I want now. And there's also special weapons that have unlimited use, which Kimwai has Majima's weapons that if you find them, well, you got a knife and a dagger and you can still use them constantly. But now that weapon's not in this game anymore, I really do miss that feature, because, well, it's just fun to have. It's like an equipment set you can have a standby. Like, if fiends get pretty bad, you can use a cannon if you want, just to take out someone. But yeah, the combat's focusing on Kiryu's abilities this time, not as much as equipment's. You can still use your environments, and there is collusion environments you can sort of kick an enemy into, and it does a lot of damage that way. So it's more focusing on raw strength itself instead of what you have in your arsenal or whatever you can do. So I do miss that feature. I don't know if Kimwai 2 is going to have that, but I'll have to do some research on that. There's a lot of minigames there. Like the Sega ones, obviously I'm showing, there's like a lot. There's a lot from Zero, and there's even Puyo Puyo. So if you guys want to play Puyo Puyo, this is probably one way you can do it, or you can buy it on Steam. Preferably play it on this, because you get like more than one game that way, including Virtual Fighter. What else is in my mind? There is a lot of references in Yakuza 1 that is subtle, that newcomers won't even notice. They will like fly over their heads. Like, I won't mention story-wise, but you will need to revisit a important location at least once that people who played 1 would recognize instantly. And by the way, it is a mess if you're curious. But I was wondering what the hell was going on with that place after all these years. But yes, these cut-off places. The new location, I enjoyed it. It looks like a very nice, small-time town, and I could find myself adapting to a place. It reminds me of, well, well, my own place in general. What else? There is one thing I should mention now after beating it. Like, it's a tradition in the series itself that doesn't seem to be doing this feature, unfortunately. Back then, when you beat the game, there's premium game mode. That's in this too. But back then, you could always like switch between characters or hang out with Haruka, like just for fun, like just a chill moment. I enjoyed the crud out of this, but this is not in this game, and it makes sense in the story why it's not in this game if you played it. But I would have liked just to have it just for that one last moment, you know, like a one time with your family, which is what this theme of the series is about. And I suck at driving, but yeah, I would have liked that. And hanging out with Haruka gave you special items that only she had if you like got her mood up high and right. Because that feature's not here, I don't know where I'm gonna find a special item. There is some things you can do in this that's different. Like there's take photos of ghosts, which you gotta take photos in certain locations, and I think you gotta have like a portrait with you of an important character from the past games. And if you take a photo of the right spot, you will take photos of their ghosts where they died. And I just like that, not that subtle reference of that alone. Like, it's like a good reflection of all these characters that were here, and this is where they died, and it's nice to see their face again. Except for one, there was like one in the entrance, which I think is based on that samurai game, Ishten. I can't pronounce it. I suck at pronouncing it. But yeah, he was in there too. I won't get it. I might have to do some research on this, but I won't get it. But yeah, there's things like that. There's also UFOs, which I haven't done yet. And oh, speaking of UFOs, I should probably mention this as well. The claw machine has been removed as well. It's in the game, but you can't play it, so there's no prizes in that. In fact, now that I bring this up, I should probably talk about the items itself. Because the weapon equipment is not around, Tinker items, which is sort of like there for view, but there's no real importance or anything like that, unless there's like a sub-quest which you need them. There's not much of them anymore. Like, there's food which you can get. There's also the medicines which you will need for healing items badly. There is valuables which you can get at sub-quest, which its own its own item tag itself. You can't sell those, but they're like important key items. You know how those work. There's that. There's also books, which you can increase a certain stat if you read it. There might be more, but that's roughly about it. Like, the coins are here too. You can sell those for money real quick. The best way to get money here is by fighting or by selling those coins. I get a lot of money out of this from fighting anyway, so it's probably not a bad way to go. If you need an extra boost, just get a drink. Which, one feature I really liked is just getting a drink from the vending machine and just drinking it. Like, it's cool. It reminds me of Shimon. I can't pronounce it. I am so sorry if I can pronounce these things. Like, rage on me in the comment section if you want. I'm sorry. I want to get that, by the way. It's coming on PS4 1 and 2. I'll play it. Anyway, I like that you drink from the vending machines. There's also like a randomized one which takes a randomized effect if you drink it. Basically, they boost your stat for a little while and its growth. So it's useful if you want to increase a certain stat for a little while. But it's like a joke because I have a thing with vending machines. Like, every time I play a video game, I just tinker with the vending machine, press the button, and if I can't do anything, I just punch it. Or if I have to, in DXS, pick it up. It's still pretty fun. But yeah, I like that feature. There's also another feature in the other town, which you can donate money to the temple. And there's like a randomized slot machine chance of one stat growing for like a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Just depends on the minutes that you get and what stats you get. I like that feature. The city has changed quite a lot, and not because of the unaccessible areas. Like, you do notice there's a big difference here. Like, the Millennium Tower has a cafe now, and like, I didn't know that. Like, I don't know if that's been there for a while, or that's been there briefly, or they might have put it there recently. I'll have to sort of play 5 laps to look around. I did think I was in the rooftop when I went in there, but apparently not. And I might need to do some checking next time I play this to see if I can go on the top of the roof, because that'd be nice. I would like that view. What else is on my mind? Oh, yeah. Okay. If you played Yakuza 1, you will know that there's a certain character that will train you these abilities. That includes Tiger Drop. And he's been in 2, he's been in 3, he's been there constantly just to remind you what you forgot. But he's not in this game, which makes me sad. I would have liked to see him again, but I don't know. Maybe I might be missing something, but I haven't had a chance to find him, and that's because of that cutoff area, because he's always up north, where the mall or where the park was. The Purgatory Park, which is what we called it back in the day. It was like this underground area, which was originally a train station. But then they took it over underneath the park, and now it's a secret red light district. I don't know how I'm going to get there now, but who knows. But maybe we might see the answer in Yakuza 7. Actually, I know Kimai's... No, Kimai 2 will evolve that too, but that will probably use the old entrance. This is before the big giant mall, which is where it took place. That's the thing that Majima is building in 2, in case you're wondering right now. But yeah, I don't see the old master again. I mean, you learn Tiger Drop in here, but there's also some other moves too, like the counter gut elbow crush move, which is used not for attacking. It's not a very good health kicking attack, but it's good use for us to stun an enemy for a while if you're in a tight situation. Taunt is not in this, as I mentioned before. I do miss that. I don't know what the D-pad was for, actually. I'll have to check that. But what's funny about the taunt thing is that if you had no items and you just press down, Kiryu just takes a cigarette, and he just like, there's a heat actually involving just using that on an enemy's face and then punching them. And speaking of the cigarette, Kiryu doesn't like idle anymore. Like usually back then, if you didn't know what to do, just wait it off for a while, and then Kiryu just like has a smoke and thinks about what he needs to do. This was a normal thing throughout 1 through 5, and even in 0 and Kimoi. And 0, there's like a trophy for just simply doing that in an area that you own. But Kiryu doesn't do it in 6, and that's maybe because with the phone, you get your objectives through the phone, and there's like a top right corner which reflects Kiryu's thoughts, and I like that feature about what you need to do. I do miss the smoking though. It was just what he does. There's also another thing too, because of the phone feature. That's where you also can level up and save, and because it's the way that you can save, there's no longer phone boots, and because there's no phone boots, you also don't have like a place to put your items in. In fact, that kind of feature is removed altogether. That also includes no safe houses. And safe houses was basically a place where you could just sort of chill and recover minorly, just to get back on your feet if you had no means of any items or money to buy food or whatever to heal yourself up. You can also watch cutscenes from there too, but it's also a place where you store items. That includes equipment and all kinds of knickknacks and whatnot. But that's not in this game anymore. That's not a feature in this game. That's most likely got to do with the fact of the equipment as well. But the item functions is a bit different here. Instead of having like a 15 limit slot in your pockets, you now have like limited range of items. For example, the medicine is 5. You get 5. That's all you can get, but you can get like another stats and onward. Or food, or cat food. I'll explain in a minute. But yeah, basically there's limits on that to like 5 or 10. Varies between which is ever. Like medicine, it's mainly just 5. I do miss that feature though, because like there's a lot of items in the game. I don't know, this might be the same with this game, since I'll just keep digging and I'll just find what I can find. But because there's no equipment or no weapon equipment, like I don't know, there's like tons of stuff back then. Even just crap, like useless crap. Like that includes the crane machines, which you can get like kind of things. That includes the Knight's toy. Oh, I should probably mention this right now. Yakuza has some Sonic songs. Good luck finding those if you can find them. I know what they are. It's just a randomized event that happens in some places. Like, it plays certain songs. That includes the Sonic songs. That includes Dreams of Absolution. Will it be in this case? I don't know. I'll play while I'll see what I can find. And speaking of minigames, as I mentioned about the cat thing, I'll talk about that right now. There's cats around town, and you can feed it cat food. It has like a favorite preference, so it's a matter of guessing that preference before it runs away. Like, you get free tries. If you can fill up that happy gauge to full, it goes to the Nico Cafe, and it just hangs around there. You can't control what they do, they just do their own thing. It's sort of fun to watch what they're doing or idle by their own thing. If they come to you, Kira automatically pats, and that's it. It's kind of cute. That's like, but I think there was a feature where if you get like a lot of cats, you can feed them all at once, and I think that's what you can do when you have like every cat. I'll have to find that for myself. But yeah, that's the basic gist of the cat thing, which I like. It's its own thing. It's still pretty good for Yakuza in its own right, especially 6. I mean, it's more of a trade-off when it comes to features. Like, they remove features and they trade off with another feature, so I can understand that. What else is on my mind? Drinking is different this time. It's a little minor different, but if you drink too much, you do get drunk and you become more blurry and you get more into counters. But I did experience one thing when I played 6, and if you get fully drunk to 6, your controls are not going to be useful for you. You can't move at all properly. Like, the control, Kiryu just does what he wants because he's drunk, obviously. So try not to drink too much, even though it benefits the heat gauge thing. That noodle shop with the cafe is still there. And what I'm referring to is that in 1, there's like a noodle shop at the bottom right of the map, which has a secret casino. No, not cafe, casino. Sorry, casino. Casino, which you can access from a password. A subquest will give you that password, or you can pay someone to do it for you. Once you do that password, you get to the cafe. There's also an area in the video shop which you can get weapons. That was also an area where you can watch a certain video to learn special techniques. That includes using a sword properly, because Kiryu doesn't actually know how to use a sword properly in the original. Like, he just smacks them with it. But when you learn that video, he uses a sword like a sword, like he should be using it. That video shop's not there anymore, though. But the noodle shop is. And Shrine, the dating hostess club, is also still around. But it's the only club there, though. that has to do with the whole of north area, but there was also sort of a plot relevance to it. Like, I won't spoil with 6, but it makes sense because, well, I'll mention one thing. Like, the middle part of Little Asia got burnt down and replaced as a sort of miniature Chinatown. You played Yakuza 4, you will know what the area is. It's basically like a very squished area full of buildings, and it's where Chinese immigrants go to. And that's where the police character you play in 4 handles things there. He's half Korean. I'll let you know. No, was it Chinese? Korean, I think. Sorry. Not Chinese. Korean. Korean. My bad. Yeah, it's Korean. But yeah, that's where he handled things. That place got burnt down, and because of it being burned down, the triads took over that area, like it was an open season for them. And as a result, they got the city area pretty tightly knit. And some hostess club, which I recognize from the original game, got shut down, except for Shine. That's still around. But there's also another important place that also got shut down, which was Stardust. Stardust was an important place since 1, because it's where you got things up in order, and it's the very first characters you encounter who helped you on this situation. It was near a Serena too, so there's that as well. Yuya's not the owner anymore, and neither is the other boss. It's more got to do with the whole Chinatown burning thing, but I won't spoil any more of that there. It's just a bit of a shock to see what happened to these characters that I knew for a long time. They own this place with an iron fist, and now they don't. That's quite a lot to take in. But it is Kiryu's last journey, so it's a big change for veterans itself. So I can probably understand that a little bit. Let's see, I've covered. What else? Sorry, I'm just trying to. It's a lot to think of in the past. But again, you only play as Kiryu on this one, so because of this, they're sort of focusing on his moveset, this new moveset, to sort of give it a refined prowess as a last send-off for Kiryu. The orphanage is still there, but it's sort of like a beginning point, so you might want to take photos before you continue on. By the way, the photo feature is you can do a selfie or a front view. But what's interesting I caught on is that once you take the photo, the PS4 automatically saves the image for you. So you don't need to sort of dig through your photos to like find the image for you. It just does it for you, which it's a nice mechanic. Nicely done. Good job. The massage minigame's not here anymore, but it got replaced with something way looter than that. That was excuse me, sorry. It's live chat, which basically Kiryu does not know how to use a computer. We know that. The idea is to just press X squared, whatever is on the screen, real quick before the time runs out, and Kiryu types in a message. And the lady strips, and that's that. Like, it doesn't need to be self-explanatory at this point. It's just there's a trophy about that says what the internet's really for. It's just like, wow, really? What do you expect from this series? It's always been that way. Like, 1 had a strip club. 0 had those videos, which does qualify with this. And yeah, it's just a normal thing that's been going around for quite a while. They just tried live chat now this time. Nice to know that this store has been around for years. It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. I should probably explain Trumbler. Trumbler troubler, what do you want to call it? Honestly, Tumblr sucks anyway, but whatever. The idea is that an event will happen, and if that event happens, you answer it for Tumblr. It's basically like an important mission. Like, for example, there's a fire going off, you can take that mission, or there's a woman on the roof and try to save her, you can take that mission. It gets a little annoying at times because it becomes out of the blue, and sometimes another mission becomes out of nowhere while you're in the middle of that. Like, it's sort of like when you see those thugs take, like, bugging someone. It's kind of like that, but with more additional features. Like, a fire is going off, you gotta find a fire extinguisher and take that out, which I did try it like a couple times, and I found out that the fire extinguisher there, where you got lost, is gone forever. So you might want to keep an eye out for more of them. It's basically like an event thing that you can answer if you want. I should probably now talk about encounters while I'm at it. The reason I think 5 is the solid the most is because 0 Kimwai doesn't actually have enemies escaping or calling for backup. 5 does. And that's more satisfying in itself because they will freak out and they will run away if you do so much damage on them. It's not in 6, but you can still run away from them though. So there's that. But these guys don't come up with backup, and they're always in groups of 5. And I don't mind the groups, but I wish that they kept the feature where they can call for backup, because it would be nice to see them call more guys out, and it would be nice to sort of take out, I don't know, 10 guys, 20 guys maybe? Or seeing them run away in fear because of the amount of punches you're doing this one guy right here. Like, just seeing them run away from that. Just from that. Just seeing them freak out from that, and it's just sort of satisfying to watch. There's also a heat action involving that backup call, which you can stop them from using the phone, and you stomp on the phone, and it's just satisfying to do. Like, there always encounters of 5, and for a game that does show there's like a lot of enemies in screen in the story as you go along, it would be very nice to sort of see them call for backup and keep that heat action as well along with it, because I think this game can handle a lot more than 5 guys on screen, don't you think? Especially in the city area. Yeah, they really should have kept that feature, especially when it's from 5, because this is a sequel from 5, especially directly right after 5. So again, they should have kept that feature because it was fun. Like, it's nice to have more enemies in screen, and because the amount of environments that you have more freedom access to, because back then, like, you'll be in a small confined space to fight enemies, and there's like groups of people blocking your exit, so you gotta deal with it. But back then, this is not the case with this game. Now you can just go wherever you want, and this includes going in stores. And you can damage the crap out of these stores because it's just sort of fun to do. And there's actually a heat action involving one of these stores involving a microwave, which you'll see in at some point during this video. And that's also funny. It's one of the most creative heat actions in this game. And yes, spikes are always useful in this game. What else am I gonna talk about? The stat growthing is based on... Actually, I think I talked about it already. It's all to cover, man. This is like a big series I'm involved in. I'm trying to like think through this and like talk about it. Oh yeah, there is a limit break. I should probably mention. In 5, there is like a level cap. But if you do a certain condition, you can increase that level cap by 30 or 25. I can't remember, but it was a good way to get max stats. And I got to experience that myself after I played the trial, which basically just increases stats to the fullest now, and then more instructions will come in on how to do it. And speaking of instructions, the text talk in this is funny, and it's kind of adorable, because like, if you get a message This is from Trumbull. Don't worry about that. Actually, I'll probably be doing that mission soon anyway, so I'll just keep going. If you get a message from someone, you can automatically respond back, and they will respond back to you. And you can respond back by stickers, like for example, a cat saying hi or a cat sad. And it's fun. And you can do this with a tutorial, and that's the most clever use of tutorial I've ever seen in a video game. Like back then, they just sort of instruct you of what you need to do, and it becomes more of a boring kind of, yeah, I know how to do this, I know how to do this, oh wait, can you explain this one with me again? Like, in this case, it's just there as a text message, and you can respond back to them with a sticker, and it's still pretty funny, and I hope they keep that feature in KimY 2. They probably will. They got more features on KimY 2, so, but I also heard they removed some too, so I'll just sort of look into that and play 2 again when I get the chance. Oh, Clan Creator. I will have to explain this right now. If you want to play Clan Creator, this is where I like find the fire hydrant, fire extinguisher, and I found, oh shit, there's none. I gotta find another one. Anyway, Clan Creator. It's like an RTS kind of thing. Like, you get more people if you fight certain people, but there's also a feature where you can use a password to get special characters. I got Dante, Majima, Kiryu, and even this wrestler guy named Evil, a Japanese wrestler in the game. And you can find the codes online. I recommend that you do that, and the developers are fine with you doing that, so just go ahead and do it. They're actually giving it out anyway. It functions like this, like it's like a mix of an RPG and an RTS, like, and you send certain people, like, on the mix. For example, there's like a basic guy, he's balanced out. There's a tank who is slow and is showing off, but he has like a lot of health and he can take a lot of hits. There's also the gun guys, which can attack in range. I use a lot of those, by the way. And there's also the rushers, which is a bunch of guys with knives, and they do a large amount of damage, but they're also pretty frail, so they might die pretty quickly. And there's grenades. Just throw grenades to get stuff done. And there's the leaders. Kiryu, Majima, Dante, Daigo, and Evo, and all the other special characters from the password is also included on this. There's also all kinds of them, so you can like set them up as a leader, and once you beat like a battle, they like level up. You can also use your stats from Kiryu's pool to level them up there as well, so it's excuse me, it's pretty convenient to do if you want to level them up quickly. So if you got like a lot of stats points, just put them on one of the leaders, and they'll grow up pretty quickly. And this is fun, and there's also an online mode, which I gotta try at some point, but I don't think I'm ready for it just yet, because Japan had this for like 2 years, and if I know anything about them, they might have like insanely high stats by now, so there's that. What else? Oh, karaoke's in this, and it looks nicer. Karaoke is basically you do a D&D session kind of thing, and the more longer you go with the song, it plays this small video clip within the music and going along with the lyrics, and that's still pretty fun. Like, it's there. And I think I've covered it just about. Oh, there's also Mahjong, which I haven't played yet. Like, yeah, I'm not a bit of a fan of it, but yeah, I might give it a go one day. Oh, there's also. Oh yeah, that's right. I should mention this too. There's no casino mini games in this as well. That's also, as I mentioned, from that noodle shop. Yeah, that sucks. Like, one had a lot of casino games and all kinds of stuff, if I remember. I didn't play them that much, but there's also that Lucky Dice game, which was a plot relevance in the first game, but you get evens and odds, and you win, you get money, and if you don't, you lose some money, you know, or points, whatever. But yeah, there's none of that in this game. Structure-wise, now, 5's is better, but this game has more internal structures. Like, you can go in more buildings, even empty ones, than before. And even just go in the side of a building where there's like a secret entrance here and there near the window. But in 5, there was like an upper level on the rooftops. There is rooftops in this, but not a lot, at least not that I'm aware of. And then there's an underground level, which was like an underground mall near the train station. And underneath the Millennium Tower and even the parking lot, there's like a lot of areas in the city that was structured in pretty well. And that includes the north area and the Champion District. But you can't access those underground areas anymore in this game. But there is inside Millennium Tower Cafe near the side, so there's a lot more internal structure in the buildings more this time. Like, you can go in a building that's empty and pointless, but it's just there, and it gives a city a bit of a view, like its own right. I do prefer the upper rooftop levels and the underground level and the parking lot, because it gave more of a city connections, I guess. I do enjoy the internal building structure in this though as well. And yeah, that's my thoughts. And it's nice to talk about this after knowing about this for 10 years. And I'm mainly referencing Yakuza 1, and that's, I think the reason why that is because 1 and 2 have more relevance here than 5. And I think that's because it's Kiryu's last journey as the main protagonist. I did enjoy this, I really did. And it was worth the wait for 2 years. Well, maybe not 2 years, it could probably be a bit quicker, but again, translation of all of this is hard work. Especially when you're trying to make it accurate as possible. And there's like a lot of text and a lot of things in this game. In the series, there's always been a lot of text in the series. But yes, I enjoyed Yakuza 6. It was a good send-off for Kiryu's character. I still think 5 is the best one there of the series, though, because of the more playable characters, tons of content, tons of stuff. And there's tons of stuff in this game, too. And Kimoi and Zero also have tons of stuff. The series always has tons of stuff. They like trade it off most of the time. But this is a very good send-off to the series. It's definitely for a newcomer and vets, because you get to see the send-off for Kiryu. It's essentially a goodbye at best. Like, you'll see him again later on, but his tale is over. Like, his story is finished, and I can respect that. Like, he's been for a long run, especially for like 10 years. I wonder what's gonna happen now. Like, who knows? There's Fist of the North Star game by the Yakuza devs. I'll play that. It's got Kiryu's voice actor. I'm pumped. But this was a good experience. Like, there could have been more, I admit. Like, you didn't have to cut off the Champion District in the top north area, and I know you added these other minigames, but I don't think the expense of the other ones was maybe a bit fair, unless there was like technical issues that might have made it pretty tricky to pull off. That guy got hit. But I had fun, especially trashing the store here. And I also owe one more thing in the series. I've never fought Joe Arman once. And I think after dealing with this, I think I should work my butt off fighting him 10 times. That includes 6 onward, 0, which counts as 7, Dead Souls, which counts as 1, and 0 actually counts as twice, actually, so that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 or 8, I don't know, I'm losing count at this point. But yes, I gotta fight this guy. And he's gonna be hard. But I feel like I owe myself to beating that guy. So I'll just sort of wrap this up real quick now as I make my way back to Serena. If you haven't played Yakuza 6, or any Yakuza games, what the hell is wrong with you? If you want to go canon order, I recommend Kimwai, or if you can, on the PS2, 1 first. Or 0 first, just to get the prequel going up. Each game always comes up with a story, so you can catch up as a miniature video. And if you need to catch up from that, go ahead. But I recommend 5 if you want the most solid Yakuza experience. But that doesn't mean that 6 is bad. On the contrary, it's pretty great. On its own right, it's still a great game. As a Yakuza game, well, you can't beat 5. We worked our butt off getting that translated. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Like, I had a fun experience. And these 10 years have been pretty solid for me. No game has ever done that to me. Like, at all. And I'm never gonna forget that experience when I first got this first game, and Q just smashing people's heads in. So yeah, play this, and get the demo if you can.